Sorry to have made you wait. Had a few technical issues here. So let's get started with this version 10.7 webinar. So today we will be talking about improvements that we've made to the expenses module once again. We will also be talking about announcements, a little small improvement that we've made to announcements, and reporting as well. So let me go ahead and share my screen so I can present those improvements that we've made in the past version. So as I said, first of all, we've made improvements to our expenses module. So in the expenses module, we've made a few improvements in the past few months as well. We've been improving this module a lot because a lot of you have been asking for this module to be improved. And we have listened. We have added a few things there. So the first thing we've added, well, the first few things we've added in the last versions was that it is now possible to require an approval by a manager when an employee requests expenses. It is now also possible to create different expenses types and to have different units other than money for expenses. Let's say for mileage, we can now have expenses with mileage. But what we've added this version is that let's say you have an expenses for mileage, you can now have a rate by mile that you can install in your premium once you create it. It is now also possible to assign an expense according to teams, positions, or locations. So previously, whenever you create expense in Evolia, it was accessible by all employees in the account. It is now possible to create specific expenses for specific teams, positions, or locations. So whenever I go into my settings and I go over to payroll and time off, you have this expenses management tab here where you can manage your expenses. So now when you create an expense type, it is now possible, well, obviously to give it a name. This was already possible. So let's say we call this one mileage. And then I can change the unit. So I can have this expense be in distance. And I can also have a multiplier rate for the distance. So let's say, for example, it's 50 cents per mile. I'll be able to enter an expense to have it to be 50 cents per mile. And then I can also enter the unit type display name. So this is when employees will enter the expense, what will they see as the unit they're entering? So since it's mileage, I want the unit to be miles. So I'll go ahead and enter miles. And then as I said earlier, it is now possible to assign an expense by team, position, location, or members. So it is possible to assign a specific expense to a certain team only. So let's say I want to assign this expense type to cardiology team only. I can then click on next, and I can also then enter the earning code of that expense. So let's say the earning code is 517. I can also now, another thing that is new to this version is that we can enter the unit that we want to export to the payroll. So let's say I want this expense to be exported in amount of money. I can select it as an amount, or I can go by quantity as well. So I can expand when I export it by quantity, it means that I export it by miles. If I export it by amount, it means that I export a total amount of money. So it is now possible to set that up in here. And when I click on save, I can then go to timesheets. And whenever I go to timesheets and I go into an employee's timesheet, I now have this expenses place here where I can enter my expenses. So whenever I click on the plus, I can enter my expense, and then it is now possible for me to select the mileage expense. And then whenever I enter an amount of miles, let's say 50 miles here, it will automatically calculate the amount of that expense according to the rate multiplier that you identified in the expense earlier. So you can then, as you could do before, and enter the description and also attach a file if you want to, and then click on save once you're done creating your expense. So that's what we've done with expenses. Another thing that we've added this version is that in the announcement, it is now possible to um, ask for employees to confirm that they've read the announcement. So a reading confirmation by employees, it is now possible to request that. So whenever I click on plus to add an announcement, I mean, as it was possible before, I can add a title to my announcement. I can add a message, a file, a poll as well. But the new thing that we've added is to require an employee to confirm to read. So whenever we select this, it will ask a confirmation by the employee when they see the announcement. So when I click on next, I can then select the employees to which it's going to be sent to. Let's say I send it to all employees. I click on publish. And then when I go back and visit the announcement again, I'm able to see who has confirmed reading the announcement and who has not confirmed to that they have read the announcement. So these are some adjustments that we have done on our end. Next up, and finally, is that in the schedule section, in the reporting section, it is now possible to select the time frame in which you want to export the report for. So let's say you want to export a report of all of the shifts that you have scheduled for, let's say, on Saturday, but you don't want all of the shifts. You only want the shifts between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., for example. When I can click on the export button here, I can select the date I want to export the data for, and I can set a specific time range. So let's say, as I said earlier, I want to export this for only 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It is possible for me to do so. So it wasn't something that was possible previously. Whenever you exported a report, you would export it for the whole time frame of the day that you exported it for. Now it is possible to select a specific time frame. So this was a pretty quick webinar. There's honestly it was a smaller version, this one. There's a lot of adjustments in the back end, but from what in your perspective as a customer in the front end, you can see this is pretty much what we've added. So I'll leave you a few minutes. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any questions, I'll be able to see them and answer them. So I'll leave you a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, to ask your questions about what I just showed. If there's no questions, well, I'll leave you to the rest of your day. Well, then, thank you all for joining. I wish you a great rest of the day, a great weekend as well. And we'll see each other in June for the next webinar. Thank you very much. Have a good one.